All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm not gonna say I didn't see this coming. Uh, First of all, good evening. I'm Josh, aka Cujo. We do this meeting every 2 weeks, just to keep the community informed of what's going on. Obviously, lately, probably for the last 6 months or so, the updates in terms of what's going on with regulations and whatnot has been slow. We're all, waiting with bated breath for December when the FAA is saying that they are going to be dropping quite a few
Releasing
different
everything,
things. Yeah, including remote ID and community-based organization requirements and so on and so forth.
possibly the
Possibly the
recreational
learning.
test.
Yep, the recreational test. So we're
Ooh,
kind of in the waiting phase right now. So in the meantime, we've been trying to keep people informed on the various things that are happening in the UAS airspace, essentially, or the news space, to kind of pun that out. And some of this has bearing on those things that we're waiting for. So in this first one, like I said, I can't say that I didn't see this coming, but U Avionics has received a patent for remote identification. For those who don't know who U Avionics is, they created. It was called the Ping, I believe, and it was a, I don't know. I think it was like a 5 or 8 gram uh, ADSB receiver that you could put on your drone. They ran about $250, and now these guys are obviously just pivoting into remote identification. These guys are also a part of the um, co- uh, this coalition. Sorry, commercial drone
Yeah, the
alliance.
CDA. Yep.
Thank you. God, my brain is not
So
functioning today.
is this networked or a broadcast
This is
capability?
broadcast, I do believe.
Well,
So,
that's good.
direct broadcast remote identification device for unmanned aircraft systems addresses the critical need for direct air-to-air transmission of UAS identification. Um, it says UAS remote ID functionality has become one of three technologies, along with command and control, detect and avoid, critical to enabling safe and secure UAS operations over people and beyond visual line of sight. Obviously, it's being referred to as the digital license plate. And it says while transmission of this data can be accomplished over mobile networks, air to air broadcast functionality is critical for delivery of this information in rural areas. Um, it's expected to, or the FAA is expected to publish its final rule by the end of 2020, just as I was saying earlier. And the broadcast capability of this device will be a component of the standard remote ID type from the which is required for any UAS which flies greater than 400 feet in any direction from the control station, which hopefully is something they'll be shifting in the final proposal.
Yes.
So, um, this kind of, it depends on the problem with this is that we knew somebody was going to patent it, and I had no doubt that it was going to be UAvionics. Um, but yeah, there's going to be, this is going to keep the price. This could potentially keep the price of remote ID components on the end, as such as TextJet was saying. Yeah, it could, companies will have to pay royalties to Avionics, and that cost will be rolled right down to the customer. So it'll be interesting to see what the price of such units are going to be. But um, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Uh, Direct
potential upside of
broadcast.
a patent like this is that, if there's any type of sensible licensing, it could result in uh, a de facto standard, which would
Mhm.
be a good thing. And
Yes.
then there'd be commonality, and the UTM would become more possible. And so we'll see what happens. But I agree with TextJet. This is an opportunity for mischief.
Yes.
Have they said when this, as far as this goes, like how it's gonna either be implemented into a quad, or if that's gonna like start to cause issues with like home builds?
So according to the NPRM, the proposal, the original proposal from the FAA, any home built quads would be considered amateur, and any amateur class quads or drones, which would be fixed wing and obviously quadcopters, um, would be relegated to a fixed flying site approved by the FAA, which basically would roll down at this point probably to an AMA field. The problem with it is those fields have to be approved by the FAA, and they have to go under reapproval every 4 years, I believe. And the expectation from the FAA, and they stated as such, is that they slowly rule these flying fields out and decrease the amount, and they will never increase the amount. So slowly everything would have to be remote ID, which means no home builds later on down the road because you won't have anywhere to fly them. So it's kind of the slow death. So yeah, they're really classifying anything basically home built as an amateur. The only way around that is if a manufacturer is supplying 100% of the kit, and you can't deviate from that kit. So
So
yeah,
basically, getting around it would be like bind and fly type stuff.
exactly. RTF, yeah, ready to fly, kind of stuff. So, and the problem with that aspect is all those systems, according to the NPRM, would have to be approved by the FAA. So, for example, DJI could walk into the FAA and get approval, but then you've got smaller companies like Rotor Riot, Get FPV, Race Day, who build bind and flies and sell them to their customers. The approval process would probably cost many thousands of dollars, and for each different model, anytime you change a component, you'd have to get it reapproved. So it creates a pretty big step in the wrong direction from our point of view, and a lot of both us and a lot of other organizations and companies, put in their comments in response to the NPRM that that's just it's untenable, essentially. So
Basically, if you're not DJI, get out.
well, yeah, I mean, you've got other. I mean, obviously, there's other big companies, Skydio and Unique and DJI and stuff like that would be able to suck that cost up, and they can again pass that cost off to the consumer at a minimal hit because of the volume of sales that they do. But other companies, smaller companies, yeah. So
As we were working on the safety culture presentation and task force report that will be presented on the 22nd of this month, next week, to the FAA at the Drone Advisory Committee, one of the things that was really positive is we were able to gain agreement across the manned aircraft associations, manufacturers, that regulations really should be proportionate to the risk of the aircraft. And so
mhm.
we had hours of discussions, and with an effort to not get directly into remote ID, but there was absolute agreement that we should not encumber aircraft that are uh, demonstrably safer with regulations that were created for aircraft where there's a loss of life year after year, year after year. So, well, remain positive. We'll see
Yep.
what sort of surprises the FAA can create for us in December.
Yeah. All right. This is some interesting news. So, drone responders and ASTM International partnered together to standardize public safety UAS training. Um, So ASTM, if you don't know, they basically develop transparent standards. One of the standards that they have worked on in the UAS space is remote ID. And their response to that remote ID scenario was something that we really kind of understood, and it made sense, and it wasn't overbearing. Um, but at the same time, the FAA has kind of set that aside at this point that we know of. But this, they ASTM has partnered with drone responders to develop a training strategy for public safety and emergency service sectors. So this would be your police, your fire, um, I would say though your search and rescue, those types of organizations, state and local organizations, to be able to train and learn how to use drones to do what they need them to do, whether that be for investigation or looking for hot spots and fires, or any search and rescue using FLIR, and really good that this is something that we've talked about in the past as an organization, for developing a standard training for first responders. um,
And
so
yeah, and this I think is positive in the sense
mhm,
that this adds a physical testing or hands-on testing of a student flying a UAS and gaining proficiency and then being tested on that proficiency. And
yes.
so, great place to start with first responders and the organization. Is sound. Well, we've been talking to and working with the first responder group, and where I've also signed up to be a member of ASTM. And there's a meeting coming up on November 2, 3, 4, 3 through 5 or 2 through 5 on the F-38 committee subcommittee, which is the committee that handles all UAS. Lots of projects coming out of it, and the one that Josh mentioned on remote ID came out of that group. So
Mhm.
a good group to and they do and it is international, even though the A is for American. So that helps because the ASTM creates standards that are picked up by uh, out of New Zealand, out of European Union, UK, Canada, etc.
All right, so we've got two kind of competing articles, but let me grab this one first. This comes from Drone Life. It is now official. There are no Department of Justice funds for DJI drones. No agency may use Department of Justice funds for any unmanned aircraft manufactured by a covered foreign entity, which would be an entity that's determined or designated within the Department of Justice to be subject or vulnerable to extrajudicial direction from a foreign government. Um, so it basically is stating that DJI and any drones manufactured in China, which the Chinese National Intelligence Law, it says, passed in 2017, which requires Chinese companies to cooperate with the government, and other regulations that could require companies to provide access to their network assets upon demand. Um, so essentially, this has been on the table for a while, and it's part of I think the DoD reauthorization at this point.
Correct.
Uh,
Section
uh,
8854.
that basically no government entities can use government funds to field any kind of drones made in China, for fear of obviously information gathering and whatnot. So the DOJ has gone ahead and said that you're not using our funds to do this, and this has caused some issues in different parts of the country. The Department of the Interior is using uh, was using DJI, some DJI drones to track wildfires and perform controlled burns. and stuff like that, and it hasn't been able to do that. And those kind of situations lead to some of the fires that we're seeing, especially on the west coast of the country. Um, but obviously, China bad is the big push right now, and we're kind of seeing the rollout of that. So, in spite of that, yeah, what phones does the DOJ use? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
but
as this goes through the Department of Defense reauthorization, that'll be a law, and
mhm,
so that's a it will turn into a regulation, but it'll be a mandate from Congress, and
yeah,
so not good.
yeah. I mean, by doing that, they're really starting to limit. It's kind of the first salvo in limiting, access to that type of technology for STEM programs and stuff like that later on down the road. So, DJI has unveiled two new solutions for aerial surveying and lidar. So you got the ZenMuse P1 and the ZenMuse L1. So you've got these massive drones, which look really expensive. Um, there, it looks like two new payload solutions for the Matrice 300 RTK. Um, I think these are like $15,000 drones that these are going on, and I'm sure these new cameras are probably about the same price. But the ZenMuse L1 has a Livox lidar module with a 70-degree field of view and a 20 megapixel camera. It's better than my camera. With a 1 inch CMOS sensor, and can generate a true color point cloud uh, up to 2 square kilometers. That's crazy, and it does a point rate of 240 points per second. Good grief!
I don't need one, but I want one.
I know, right? Like, what would I do with this? But holy crap, that would be fun.
I mean,
um,
assuming it's got an impressive service ceiling.
Oh, good grief. The P1 is meant for full frame photogrammetry. So, photogrammetry, if you don't know, is using multiple, and by multiple, I mean hundreds of regular photographs to create 3D images. So, you can use this to do mapping, surveying, all that kind of stuff. It'd be great for construction companies and city planners and all that kind of stuff. Even great for someplace like the Department of the Interior that needs to map and track what's going on in their land. So, but kind of bad. So equipped with a mechanical shutter, TimeSync 2.0. Let's see. Just looking, 45 megapixel camera. There you go, Dan. That's what we need right there.
All the better to record the plane coming right at it.
Right. So this is able to cover 3 square kilometers. The ZenMuse P1 able to cover 3 square kilometers in a single flight. So definitely want. Very nice. So some gentleman, this comes from Fox Atlanta, was arrested for shooting down a utility company's drone that was inspecting electrical towers. So I guess his name is Edward Neil Pope, been charged with criminal damage to property in the second degree and reckless conduct.
I wonder if this was the story that someone was talking about in one of our other channels.
Yeah.
Somebody said somebody near them was going to get in trouble for shooting something down.
Uh-oh.
But I don't remember where that was.
Of course,
Yeah, see, that was kind of my point, Alex, is somebody finally got charged for shooting a drone down.
Yeah, it's a felony. Yes, TechChat, exactly right. Those sounded like local laws. I would imagine that the feds will follow up with charges.
And I know the guy in Minnesota who did that this summer got in trouble, but I didn't ever hear what the final verdict was.
Interesting. So I guess the point is that we've seen a lot of this kind of going on. People saying they're going to shoot down drones and people actually doing it, and it seems like charges have been few and far between. Um, so somebody finally. That was kind of my point. Is somebody finally got arrested? So pretty interesting. Speaking of China. Funny story is I was watching what Angel Has Fallen today, that Gerard Butler Secret Service movie where they launch, if you haven't seen it, they launch a bunch of drones out of the back of a truck and they're like kamikaze drones that explode on impact. Well, somebody had to go and make it.
It's like the drones from Venom.
So CETC has released a new video claiming to show the successful test of a barrage swarm, which launches 48 attack drones to saturate a target.
Just what we needed, and they're probably all sub 250 gram.
So, hey, they actually mentioned Angel Has Fallen. So there you go. Apparently, it was which was inspired by the U.S. Navy's Locust Swarming Attack Drone project in development since 2015. Multifunction processing unit for swarm intelligence. They claim this unit includes a complete flight control system, mission planning, intelligent decision making, and dynamic networking between drones.
Doesn't mention that they borrowed the software from the U.S. Navy, doesn't?
Right. Oh, good grief. So, hey, because we needed something else like that in the world. Let's see. And I believe, yes, this comes from General Atomics. Has released their own, not really released, but their drone manufacturing plant has released a Sparrowhawk. They're considering it a small UAS, and it's an airborne launch and recovery aircraft. So it can be launched from the wingtip of another drone, like a Raptor or whatever they're called, and then it can be re-picked up, I believe, in air. Let's see. A C-130 transport aircraft would retrieve them in the air and carry them home, and can be prepared for use within 24 hours again.
Dang, these little things are fast. If a
Yeah.
if a C-130 can pick it up with think of the relative velocity required to land one of these things in a bay of a C-130
in the air.
It's not so much the speed. A C-130 can drop down to like just under 130 miles per hour. It's the drop wash that these things have to overcome.
All right.
Yeah, I used to jump
The
out of
thrust
those.
that comes off
They do go kind of slow.
Hey, I was
awesome.
thinking of 100 miles an hour plus is fast.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
That's funny.
He used to jump out of them. Oh my gosh.
So you got Predator drones and Raptor drones carrying other drones. So Reaper, not Raptors. Sorry. So in terms of news, that's all I have for today. It was. Oh no, I do have one more. Sorry, got lost in my list. I have the giant master list here. So when it's connected to another drone, is it counted as one UAS or two? I would consider it one until it releases a payload. Technically. All right. So Transport Canada approves beyond visual line of sight commercial drone operations. So Transport Canada has issued the second special flight operations certificate for beyond visual line of sight flights in uncontrolled airspace, utilizing infrastructure masking and iris automation's onboard detect and avoid solution.
Yeah.
So
this article piqued my interest because a lot of the smart cone heads involved in the ASTM remote ID felt that LiDAR was not an appropriate detect and avoid technology. So now we've got Iris gaining
Mhm.
Transport Canada approval, and LiDAR was the basic tenet of the DJI announcement that we just saw above. So
Mhm.
could be that ASTM early thought might have been correct a couple of years ago, but this is really interesting that LiDAR is now getting seen as an appropriate detect and avoid technology.
I mean, in all honesty, LiDAR is more detailed than what's currently in use for detect and avoid. They're using sonar right now in
Yes.
DJI, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a more accurate technology. I don't understand why it wouldn't be appropriate.
Well, speaking of LiDAR, you missed the biggest news of the week. Johnny
what did I miss?
Johnny FPV putting an iPhone 12 on a drone
I
and
saw that.
having it be part of the Apple announcement of the phone.
Yes.
And
I
that phone
did.
has LiDAR in it.
Wait, what?
This was
Okay, hang on.
This was
It's
the
the Apple 12
this was the
announcement.
photo with with either the photo was doctored or the video was doctored, or
Well,
the
the
drone
video
was very questionable.
the video has the those 360 cameras, so it automatically took out a bunch of things and makes the drone look funny.
Well, they had to make the camera is actually third person view, so that, and then they in post they removed the wires and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, Johnny
Yeah.
came on. I saw one of the posts on Facebook where he said, yeah, they removed like wires from the DJI FPV system
Yeah.
from the
Too
photo
funny.
and stuff like
Too
that.
funny.
So
Yeah. And text jet range on LiDAR, I think that is one of the
There it is.
issues of LiDAR.
does somebody have a link to the video?
That's too funny.
I can pull it real quick from Facebook.
I didn't grab a screenshot of the third person view at the time,
Let's see.
That's
but
too
that was
funny.
played to millions of people while they were watching the iPhone announcement.
Yeah, well, it's good that they got Johnny FPV. So, a very capable pilot.
Oh,
who
yeah,
takes
absolutely.
takes safety very seriously. So he's a good ambassador for us.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought
I'm more-
Steele's retort was actually pretty good too. I think he strapped an NVIDIA graphics
He
card
did the
on
brand
his.
new 3090 to his drone.
Oh,
I-
that's funny. That's
I'm just
funny.
impressed that he trusted that drone with an iPhone 11.
Well, I mean, the
He doesn't
he's
care.
being paid. Yeah, I mean, he's getting paid how much probably from Apple to run that. So, and the phone they probably gave him to begin with. So, I mean, that's
insane.
the bigger cost. I mean, if you, oh yeah, here's Steele's picture. Let me see, copy link.
Is that? Oh my god! Of course, Steele does that. Of course, Steele would do that.
That's hilarious. Let's see. I was looking for the actual video. Yeah, well, it's somewhere on Facebook. So, meanwhile, Dan, while you're prepping for winter, we just hit 144 days of 100 degrees plus. So
That's crazy. We seriously have a chance of snow this weekend.
I hate you.
Yeah,
Hey, but think
Yeah.
of all of that awesome footage you're gonna get.
Yeah. Can you say
Yeah,
conformal coding?
I'm
I
right next
definitely do
door.
that.
And yeah, we're going from like 70 today to I think a high of 40 something tomorrow.
Good grief. All right. So in terms of news, guys, that's all I have. And Dave, do you have anything for us?
I don't.
When
Dan?
is the
Bruce
next
is-
DAC coming up?
It is next
Next week?
Thursday. It is the 22nd. It's, I believe, about 10 a.m. and it will be live streamed. 10, that's Eastern.
Yeah, so we, the FPV Freedom Coalition, definitely has to get some more advertising going for that drone advisory committee meeting that Dave, you will be presenting at.
I will.
And
have a,
fingers
10-minute,
crossed
10-minute segment.
that they will announce some new DAC members, which hopefully will include some people like yourself.
Yes, that would be nice.
That would be really nice.
Will certainly be a question that I'll encourage Jay Merkel to say something about, even if it's that they're not going to mention it. I was it was suggested to me by some longstanding DAC members that the FAA does not move that quickly, so don't anticipate that this would be that they would announce the new members at this coming meeting. But we'll be watching. Watching it during class? No, Alex. No, no, no. So they're two. This is pretty funny. They're talking about 3090s and 3080s. These guys are definitely my vintage. So I started with the company the day we announced the 3081. Those are mainframe numbers. Pretty funny. long time ago, far away.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you remember the old Honeywell system with the big giant disc platters? I think they're like 15 inches, and I think
Certainly.
there was 8 of those in the platter. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, as when I first started. That was actually in the military. We
Yeah.
had all the civilian PhD guys that would do. They were doing area studies on different parts of the Middle East and pumping their reports out for us.
Oh, it's good to see Bruce Simpson XJet here. Must have internet connected at his new house. That's good.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on the plans for building that ADS-B receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the cost point that you're working on, Bruce. It looks like a good one.
Yeah,
COBOL
It's coming.
programmer.
It's coming. I'm
Excellent.
just getting sorted here, and then I'll be getting the GitHub thing up and doing the video.
And I
Excellent.
know how hard it is to make videos. A lot of people have no clue how many hours go into every second of a video.
Yes.
And having moved 9 times, we also recognize that it can be somewhat disturbing to your life. So we get it.
It is. I've got to stay one step ahead of CIA.
Now they'll be sending documents to your old house for the next 5 years.
That's awesome. I didn't know. All right. So, anybody else have anything for us?
Somebody's got to have some questions.
Yeah. Got 15 minutes left.
Oh my gosh. TSO. Yeah, these guys are all my vintage. This is really hysterical.
I
What
know
is
what
this
punch
song?
cards are, but I never had to use them.
Slowly
yeah.
walking out of the room.
Everybody.
Yeah, it really is a
We'll sing.
it is a kumbaya. Timeshare option, TSO. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I live about 40 miles north of the center of the universe for the IBM mainframe. So it's the main plant called the Gun Factory because we made Winchester rifles during World War II at that
Are you
plant.
serious?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
collector's
wow.
item, an IBM Winchester. It's a tough one to find.
Wow.
Oh, do you
Yeah.
see? What is it? When Microsoft just pulled up their submerged data center.
Yes, I did see that. It was kind of gronky, but it
Apparently,
survived.
it did pretty well, and it didn't
Yeah.
it didn't crash due to thermal overload.
Well, yeah, because it's buried at the bottom of the sea. It's probably pretty cold down there.
Interesting.
I saw pictures when they were pulling it up. It was like really
pretty
nasty on the
nasty.
outside, but yeah, the inside they said it was doing really well. So
It's like
Huh.
if I ever find the first quad I ever flew at the bottom of the pond.
I still have one buried in a pond somewhere.
That and fun little tidbit of information for you guys. Some of the computers that are super reliant in the upkeep and maintenance and prevention of an uh-oh moment with the United States nuclear program still run Windows 95.
That's not shocking. That's not shocking at all.
That's
Number
actually
one
safer.
reason-
There's no new vulnerabilities being found.
Exactly.
Well,
the problem is
we sold the Soviet Union a whole bunch of small IBM mainframes because they were running their nuclear arsenal on what they called plywood mainframes, which was a reverse engineered IBM 360.
and they're just like here to prevent an oopsie.
That's correct.
Yep.
So
This was year 2000.
bringing us back around to drones. Dirty Rat, anybody want to help answer his question about the difference between BLLES, 32, regular, and Jazz Maverick?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
boy,
Jazz,
that's
is Jazz Maverick M32BL?
Jazz
I just-
Maverick is a special firmware you can buy to make BL Heli S, I believe, do bidirectional D-shot.
Yes.
So you can do
Okay.
RPM filtering. That's what I want to say. I'm not familiar with that because I've only really used BL Heli 32, which can do the bidirectional D-shot and do RPM filtering.
Right.
BL Heli
So-
regular would be really old. BL Heli
Yeah,
S would be slightly newer. BL Heli
Jazz
32 is
Mav
the
is
newest.
great.
Yeah, so you have BL Heli, which was for the older generation of ESCs, kind of when I was starting. Regular BL Heli was the main thing. That and what was the other one that was still a thing back then? Simon K.
One shot.
No, back when I
Oh.
was starting. This is
And-
the
And in answer to Dirty Rat's question, BL Heli 32 can run on any ESC? No.
no BL Heli 32 can only run on ESCs with 32-bit processors on them.
And
So
the tricky part is that you have to know what you have and then use the right software to talk to them. Because if
Correct.
you use BL Heli software, you can't talk to the 32 ESCs. And yeah, people get confused by that because it's not really obvious.
Yeah,
And
so when you're buying the two that are main on the market right now are going to be BL Heli S and BL Heli 32. And just keep in mind which one you're using, so you're using the right version of the software to configure them. BL Heli 32 gives you a few more options, and it takes some options away. So as an example, BL Heli S, you can still set dampen light to on or off. Whereas BL Heli 32, it's on by default, and I think you have to jump through a couple extra hoops to get it off if you want it off. It allows you to do startup tones. BL Heli 32 allows you to do startup tones. The processing time on the ESC obviously is faster, so it can respond to throttle changes and whatnot quicker. Although the feel of it is probably negligible for the untrained. But Dave, you had something to toss in there?
Yeah, if you do corrupt an ESC while programming it, not that I've ever done that more than 5 or 6 times, you can purchase a cheap Arduino and program and flash the code back on and resuscitate an ESC. Pretty well, reasonably well documented, and couple of videos on it, and it works.
Jesus,
It is, but it's a pain in the butt.
Yes, it is.
Bobby King Blue, yes.
But after you smoked 3, 4 in 1 ESCs, and it's like, oh yeah, maybe I can just save one of these.
So Dirty Rat, hopefully the website you bought that from will tell you exactly what ESC is your ESC drone has on it.
Yeah.
Obviously, your problem is.
I'm sure it's an S.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a BL Heli S. However, just double check it so you're using the right software to go in there. The BL Heli 32, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but you don't have to do the initialization where you do the throttle up, throttle down. What is it?
Right, you don't have to.
Why am I missing the word?
Calibrate
Configure them?
ESCs.
Calibrate, thank you. Whereas the BL Heli S, I believe you still do. But it's easy enough to walk through. There's plenty of YouTube tutorials on how to calibrate your ESCs.
Well, I guess let me rephrase.
You don't
that.
have to
If you're
calibrate.
using, If you're using D-shot, you don't have to calibrate. If you're using multi-shot or one shot, then you do have to calibrate. So it's a digital versus analog, not a 32S versus S thing.
Yes, you are correct. Thank you. It's been a while since I've had to calibrate an EFC. So
2020, we still have to calibrate things.
I know, right?
That's okay. I spent half of yesterday trying to calibrate a gas detector, and I wanted to bang my head against a wall. What do you mean you're detecting CO2?
What else we got? Anybody have anything else for this evening? Text chat's still typing. BLHELIS. There you
True
go.
props.
All right. So next week we will be off, but do keep watch for the DAC meeting on Thursday. That will be live streamed. We will post links to it on the Facebook. We'll probably drop them here in Discord too, if that's how you do follow us and communicate with us. Dave does have a grand 10 minutes to present, and I'm sure it'll be excellent as it was last time.
Not as fancy graphics, but good content and a great team of from
individuals.
folks from Boeing to ALPA to AOPA to Dallas Police Force to the mayor of Colorado Springs. It's quite a diverse group, and
that's awesome.
And BNSF and others.
Excellent. So look forward to that. And I'm sure there's Dave, what are the other presentations that they're going to cover during the meeting besides yours?
Mostly it is the safety culture, and that is the other elements will be recreational, presented by Chad Boudreau. It will be traditional aircraft presented by Houston Mills of VP UPS, Vice President of UPS Aircraft Operations, and then large enterprise companies using UAS, and that'll be presented by Todd Gretz. These are all four are 10-minute segments. In addition, there'll be the responses back on the facility map. So the way it works is we put together these presentations, and the two presentations back on February 27 at the last DAC were UAS facility maps and cutting the grids was the key action there, as well as UTM. And so what the DAC or the FAA does at the following DAC is they come back and they say, here is our response to what was presented and recommended to the DAC at the last meeting. Unfortunately, when their response to the remote ID work that we did in 2019 was, yes, we received the report, thank you very much. That literally was the essence of the response. So I'm hoping that it's a little more substantive for both the UAS facility maps tasking group as well as the UTM tasking group. But those, and then I'm not sure, but any new tasking groups that the FAA wants to have will be assigned. Exactly right.
Yep. All right. Well, definitely looking forward to the responses from the older groups as well as the presentations from the newer ones, and we'll be interested to see what the new assignments are going to be, what the new tasking groups will be. So this is what, the third or fourth round of tasking groups?
For the ones that I've been in, this is the fifth tasking group that I worked on. So yeah, it is, I think, the third group. So they started round. This is like the DAC 2.0 they call it. So this is a reconstituted DAC, and from let's see, June, October, February, and then now October. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, I will give you back the extra 5 minutes. Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. Definitely appreciate your guys' support and you guys being here and asking questions. And
hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks, and we'll have more information on the DAC after that.
True story.
Yes.
All right, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. And again, we absolutely appreciate you guys joining our meeting tonight. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. Have a good evening.